Hey y'all, I wanted to make a video to help you with your ZMK programmable keyboard. Now, you might have a Kinesis Advantage 360 Pro, you might have a Mo Ergo Glove80, you might have any wide range of different custom keyboards that are out there that run ZMK firmware that makes them highly programmable and customizable. But maybe you were a bit like me, where you got into this not because you were looking for a programming hobby. You were looking for a keyboard that fit your ergonomics and promoted better health of your fingers and wrists and forearms and all that fun stuff. I'm not a programmer, but I have an IT background, and that's still kind of what I'm into today. So I stumbled and hunted and pecked my way through this and figured it out. But I want to share this as sort of an every man, every woman's, every person's guide to layman's guide to ZMK and how to program your keyboard without necessarily following the guides that are included with your keyboard, because I found that the documentation is really bad, at least on most of them. I haven't tried every keyboard out there. But without further ado, let's get started. And I'm going to walk you from start to finish on how to do that, and then also explain how to do Homerow Mods, which is one of the most commonly requested edits that you'll want to do on your keyboard. So here in the browser window, you're going to want to go to github.com. So github.com, you'll be taken to a screen similar to this where you can sign up for GitHub. It's free. This is where you're going to house your repository of code, or maybe I should say your shoebox of information about your keyboard. So we're going to copy that information called a repository. We're going to copy that information from Kinesis or from Mo Ergo or whatever. It's just kind of their baseline information. We're going to copy that over to our storage, our GitHub repository, where then we can edit it. And that whole copying process is called forking. And let's just go ahead and create an account and get signed in. So punch in your email address here. Once you've done that, you'll be prompted to enter a code. They'll email you a code to your email address to verify you have a working email and create a password and all that fun stuff. I'll see you on the other side. Okay, this is what it will look like, or something very similar to this. So the next thing you're going to want to do is to look for the GitHub, the official GitHub repository for your keyboard. Now that may vary depending on manufacturer and brand, and whether you've got some kind of small shop keyboard or something from a bigger manufacturer like Kinesis, for Advantage, or Kinesis Advantage, for example. So what you can do is you can go to the support docs for your keyboard, so go to their website, and then you can typically find this same link I'm about to go to. Or you can hop into Google and search for typically, for instance, manufacturer model GitHub, and you're typically going to find it. So in my case, I searched for Kinesis Advantage 360 Pro GitHub, and it took me to here. You do want to make sure you're using the official repository. This one is it, and I can see it over here that it's from the Kinesis Corporation. Same for Mo Ergo. I want to make sure that I'm using their official repository. I can see that it is, in fact, the official repository. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to reload this page so it recognizes that I'm signed into GitHub now. And I'm going to click this button here that says fork. And I'm going to create a new fork, which it's not letting me do because I did this just a minute ago. Sorry about that. Here, you're going to click a button that says include, I think there's a checkbox or something like include main branch. You'll do that and continue. And it takes like 5 or 10 seconds for it to move past that screen. That's all you really need to know for right now. So let me switch to the next screen we'll go to. Okay, so here we are, we're back in my forked repository. So you can see that it's now linked to me as opposed to the manufacturer. So this code I can edit. Manufacturer's code, I can't edit. So next I'm going to go up here in the top in this little banner, and I'm going to click, or nav menu, and click actions. And then I'm going to say, I understand my workflows, go ahead and enable them. This is one of the things that I think almost 0% of the documentation from Kinesis and MoErgo explain that you need to do. So I understand, click that, it'll turn it on. And for right now, you're all set. Next, we're going to go to Nick Koutsos Keymap editor. And Nick, I hope I'm saying your last name correctly. Nick has done the world a tremendous favor by making a way better Keymap editor than Kinesis makes, than MoErgo makes. Those two are trying to catch up with what Nick has done. I really think this is where you should start, and I'm going to make it easier for you to explain what the manufacturer should have explained to you all along. So you'll see a screen similar to this. Look down in the description below if you don't have a link to Nick Koutsos Keymap editor, and you'll get to this screen. But what you'll click is GitHub right here, and then you'll click Login with GitHub. Now, in my case, I've already granted this permissions to access GitHub. So you may have a slightly different experience there where it brings you to a screen. Where it brings you to a screen similar to this one, where you see this repository access right here. You're going to want to only select repositories, and then you'll click this drop down and actually choose the repository that you want, which will be like this one. This is the one that I created from my fork earlier. So it'll be something like this. It'll be your GitHub username and then your keyboard model or something like that, or your username and Advantage 360 Pro -ZMK, something like that. And you'll select that in the list. You do not want to select all repositories, and then you'll click Save. So that's what you didn't see me do there, but I'm going to go back to my Keymap editor. Next, before we do anything else, is I'm going to help you create a Homerow mod behavior. And a Homerow mod does two different things. So if you tap the key, so for instance, if I tap the F key, it's going to produce an F. If I do Shift F, it's going to produce the same, uppercase F. But if I hold the F key, I can actually have it do a different action. And holds can do a lot of different things, but typically they're going to be used for modifier keys. So if you're on a Mac, that might be Command, Control, Alt, or Option. What's the other one that I'm not thinking of? Yeah, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But that's what you'll end up doing with Homerow mods. You can also do something called a tap layer mod. That essentially works the same way as a tap hold, where if you tap the key, it produces the key letter. But if you hold it, it does something else. So a layer mod ends up being, if you hold it down, it unlocks another layer mapping behind the scenes. So let's say for the F key, I have a tap layer mod, which means that if I hold the F key, I switch to one of these other layers over here on the side. Now, right now, they're just the basic layers. They haven't been customized at all. But if I tap and hold the F key, let's say that I map that to layer 4 that I haven't even created yet. And layer 4 is the number pad. So if I keep holding the F key over here on my right hand, I now have a 10 key keyboard where I can do, or 9 key, depending on who you ask, where I can do all my keyboarding with my numbers right with my right hand just by holding the F key with my left. And then I have the keypad on the other side where I can key in my numbers and stuff. That's just one example of what you can do. So for instance, I do actually have a little bit of a different variation with Homerow mods where my F key and my J key, so essentially my Homerow indexing keys where my pointer finger goes, those are both layer tap holds. So if I tap, I get J. If I hold, I actually get a different layer. And for instance, for me, I have a bunch of navigation functions under here. So if I hold F, I have it where I have up, down, left, right, like that. And that's just throwing back to old keyboard days where I have the little WSAD type layout for gamers, or just the typical up, down, left, right layout. It's instinctive to me. I have O as option, or excuse me, command left arrow, or excuse me, command right arrow, which just means jump to the end of the line. and then U is jump to the beginning of the line or row. So I can move around really fast without having to do a bunch of different keystrokes that way by just holding the F. I've got my arrow keys right here under my home row, which is very easy to find. But let's make a home row first. So I'm going to go to behaviors, and I'm going to say there are some existing behaviors, and these will make more sense as you look at what we're about to do. For instance, tap dance will allow you to tap a key twice or whatever, and it produces a different value or different action. I don't use that personally. I find that I trigger it on accident too often. This one is similar to Homerow Mods. It's a little bit different though, because it's a momentary hold and some different stuff. Like, I won't get into that. That's too deep. But I'm going to go to new behavior, and then I'm going to say that my new behavior is, what is this? Behavior is tap hold. Like that. So hold, tap, behavior. And I'm looking over at my other screen to make sure I do this right. And I'm going to say that this is Homerow Mods, so HM. And you can choose whatever label you want. You can, leave it as that. But HM for me is Homerow Mods. And the hold option is going to be key press. And dismiss my reminders. I don't know if you could see that recording. And then I'm going to do the tap option as also key press. And I'm going to do the tapping term. I prefer longer because I tend to accidentally bind this, but the default is usually 200 milliseconds. You can, if you find that's not fast enough and you're getting misfires either direction, you can change this. But I usually do like 400 milliseconds, and I just do that all the way down like so. And I'm going to do that and that. And I prefer tap, where it basically, if it has to make a judgment call, it's going to prefer your tap function where you're typing the letter. There's some other different things with linger and different things like that. Feel free to play with that. Give it a try. Nick has some good documentation. ZMK has some good documentation online where you can read about all these different bindings and different stuff and what they do. But my goal is just to walk you through this with just a basic example. That being said, you're set. You may come back here and change this to these different milliseconds here, and you might also change this to hold preferred, balanced, tap preferred, tap unless interrupted. Probably not, but you can try those, see how it works for you. But this setup tends to work okay for me. So I'm going to say okay, and we're done. So I'm now going to go back to my layers, and this is where I program the keyboard. So for instance, I'm going to click on the F key here, and the behavior currently is key press. So if I tap F, it's a key press. I'm going to get the letter F. But I'm going to change that to, I'm just going to type in HM, and there's my Homerow Mods. And I'm going to say to hold the key, I'm going to do, actually, I'll show you the way I do it. So scratch that. Don't necessarily feel like you need to do what I'm doing. I'm doing something different than what a lot of people do. But I'm going to do a, what is it, layer tap. I forget the actual code for it. There we go, LT, layer tap. So this one, if I hold, I'm going to get a layer. So it's already populating my layers right here that I can choose from. It doesn't really matter for this example. I'm going to say layer 2. So if I hold the key, I get layer 2 and whatever's on that layer. And then if I tap, of course, I'm just going to say I get F. Okay, I just made a modifier here, which is tap it, it's still F. If I hold it, I get layer 2, which I can come over here to layer 2, and then I can set all the custom keys that same way, where I can come in here and then say behavior is none. No, don't want none. I'm going to say it's a key press, and then I'm going to say that it is the up arrow. There we go. Like that. And then I could do all these different keys, which I'm not going to bother to do right now. So I'm going to go back to my default layer. The default layer is the layer you have when nothing else is going on. You're just typing away. So layer 0, 0, or default layer, that's how that works. Then I'm going to come over here to D, and I'm going to say that is my command key on my Mac. So I'll come over here and not be a key press. I'm going to have it be a Homerow mod. So the other one was a tap or layer tap behavior. This truly is a Homerow mod or a tap hold behavior. So on hold, I don't want it to do D. I actually want it to do command, which on here, and depending on your keyboard, sometimes it will say GUI key or GUI, graphical user interface. And that just means, like, if you're on Windows, it's the Windows flag key. If you're on Mac, it's the command key. And here I do actually have it mapped to command. Thank you, Nick. Or maybe I should say thank you. That's probably actually coming through from Mo Ergo. But depending on your keyboard, it might not show that way. So I'm going to say this is my left command key. And then my tap is still going to go back to being D. There we go. And OK. Now I would continue through that where I might do command, alt, or option and control like that. So then I've got all my modifier keys right here. And then I've also got this tap and layer option as well. That's how I have my keyboard set up. And then I repeat that over here on this other home row. So I would have a tap layer option here on J, but I would have it do a different layer. So then maybe I have different functions over here. So like media keys or other different shortcuts that you use. And then you might have, option and then, command, option, and then control on your Mac. Windows would be different, but you would just rebuild that same row down here on the side. Some other things that I like to do is mapping keyboard shortcuts, and I can do that as well from the same where there might be a combination of keys that I want it to fire when I tap and hold that. So for instance, for me with a split keyboard, I like having enter and space on both sides of the keyboard. Now, depending on your keyboard, you maybe put them up here in your extra keys if that's what you want. But for me, like I have G, and then if I tap and hold it, it's enter. And then, or I should say, if I hold it, it's enter. T, it's a T if I tap it, but then if I hold it, it's space. You do you, I don't care. But that's something that I like because if I'm mousing with my other hand, then I don't have to like lift up from the mouse to then add an enter or hard return or a space somewhere, which is a very common thing that I have to do. You might find similar behaviors where you want to include a backspace over here or something like that. But really, it's mostly to compete with me being able to keep my hand on my mouse when I need to. And backspace is already on this side. One of my favorites is a map to custom screenshot buttons. So 4 is like a regional screenshot, 5 is like record screen, number 1 opens 1Password, sends the keyboard shortcut for that. So what I could do, let's say that I want to send the screen capture one. So I'm going to come over here. I clicked on number 4, and I'm going to change this to Homerow mod. Still a Homerow mod, even though we're not dealing with the home row. So you can use this a lot of different ways. And there are different ways to configure your Homerow mods. This isn't the only way. I'm sure some, kind of pun intended, some keyboard warrior is going to be like, oh, that's the wrong way. The best way is such and such. Great. Good for you. I'm glad that works for you. I'm glad this works for me. And you have fun with that. But yeah, feel free to share your knowledge and stuff down in the bottom in the comments there with what you do differently and what works for you. You can even share your public mapping if that might be helpful for some people. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that my hold, well, actually, I'll come over here. My key press is going to be number 4 again. And my hold is going to be a combo. So I'm going to say it's number 4, but I'm also going to say that it's going to send left GUI, which that's where that GUI comes in, but that's command. Command, and then what is it? Command and left shift, I believe. I can't remember what the keyboard shortcut is. That's what this does. You forget your keyboard shortcuts. So command shift 4. So I'm going to say, okay. So now if I press and hold the number 4, I don't have to do this, kind of dance where I'm stretching between all these different keys. I just hold number 4 and I'm ready to take a screenshot, which is really cool. So you can map all sorts of different shortcuts and things here. When you're done, what you're going to do is click Save. Now you can add a log here or notes that explain what you were doing at the time or what you changed. That can be helpful if you decide to revert back some changes, but I'm just going to click commit here. Now, GitHub will take a few minutes for it to complete. And as a matter of fact, if we wait here long enough, there it goes. It turns blue, and you can see that the little wheel, maybe you can see that the little wheel is spinning, saying that it's generating. Usually between 2 to 10 minutes is how long it takes. And I'll pause this. Okay, that took, I don't know, 3 minutes or so. And you can see that they've got a little checkbox now. So I'm going to click on this, and you'll be brought to a screen similar to this one, where you can click this little tiny download button here. And I'll do that. And you can see that I've downloaded this same Glove80 UF2 file many times before with different and I've deleted a bunch of them too, but with different changes over the months as I've had my Glove80 here. Now that we have that file, let me explain what you'll do next. So I'm not going to show this part on the screen, but just to explain, you're going to put your keyboard into firmware flashing mode. Now this varies a little bit depending on your keyboard. On the Glove80, you can, the way that I usually do it, because it's the way I can remember, is that I take the keyboard and let me unplug this. Sorry, I've got mine on magnetic mounts. So what I do is you grab the bottom most, so I turn it off, so press the power button here, and then I grab my lowest most key on the outer edge. Sorry, the video quality is not very good. It's just my screen recorder blowing up my face instead of showing full res. But if you tap and hold this lowermost key here, and it's the same, it's just the mirror on that. So you got your thumb cluster. It's whatever's opposite your thumb cluster, so it'll be this one. And then you tap and hold this, and then the E key, which is right there in the middle. And when you turn this on, press the power button, and you can see that it turned on without any RGB there. That means if I was connected to USB, it would mount this on my computer like a USB thumb drive. So if you're on Windows, you would see it in Windows. Just open up my computer and it will be there. If you're on Mac, you'll see it on the list of connected devices. All you have to do then is go into the downloaded file you just got from your from in here. You just downloaded, and you're going to drag and drop the corresponding file onto your whichever half you're connected to. So you know, this is my left half, so it's going to be named left, and I'm going to drag the left file onto here. It'll take it maybe 30 seconds or so, and then it will be done. And then usually the power will come back on, and you probably can't really see that, but my RGB is back on here, and it will look like that because it came back on. I will then rinse and repeat and do the exact same steps on the other side with my Glove80 right half. So I would take it, I turn it off, I hold the outermost key, and then what is that? Which on my current Keymap, it's page down is the outermost key, and then the letter I, so that I'd power up while holding those two keys down. And then again, it'll attach like a USB thumb drive. I drag and drop the right side to the that half of the keyboard, and I'm good. My configuration is now on the keyboard, and I can test it out, see if I like it, come back and make any changes. And you'll find that initially you'll make a lot of changes, but as time progresses, you'll make fewer and fewer changes to where you'll just get something that works for you and what you like. I will say as well that these behaviors, probably obvious, but in case it's not, these behaviors are part of that file. So let's say that you change your Homerow mod so it has a different tapping term, so it works faster or slower. You will have to go back to here. You'll have to save your changes, download the file, flash it back to your keyboard, that process of putting it in flash mode where it mounts as a USB drive. So any changes that you want to see, you do have to make them here and then go back and reflash your keyboard. Little tedious. This tool makes it way easier. Yeah, I hope this is a help. One thing that I've loved as well, in addition to having a layer tap hold under my my pointer fingers, is that granted your mileage may vary, but like for instance here on the Glove80, you can see that shift is right here and right here. And then we've got backspace, right? Yeah, backspace and delete. Yeah, backspace and delete right there. And there's other modifiers and such. And then space and enter. What I've done is I have backspace still here. And then right here, I have shift where it's always under my left thumb. If you have a Kinesis Advantage 360 Pro, you have shift, I think, right here on the keyboard, if I recall correctly. Even on the Kinesis 360 Pro that I had, I put shift again under my thumb because I didn't want to be reaching like this. And while this is comfortable to reach for, on the Glove80, I found like that every time I was reaching for it, I was accidentally hitting backspace or something like that. So I just put less frequent things up here. So I actually have delete up here instead, command, control, and then I have backspace and shift, and then a custom function here, and then I have space and enter. Yeah, anyway, you get the idea. I like that layout. Your mileage may vary, but it's something worth playing with because then you can just use your thumbs for shift, space, backspace, and enter. And those are the ones that get all that heavy lifting all the time. And it really works well for me, and my hand fatigue has gone down dramatically. If this was helpful to you, please give me a thumbs up. Give me a comment below. I appreciate you. Again, a layman's guide. I didn't cover everything, and there's plenty of stuff I still don't know. So feel free to drop a hint. If you say you don't like my setup or want something different or whatever, good for you. You probably didn't even need to watch this video because you already know what you're doing. But if you're in the opposite camp where you're just now figuring this out and maybe even frustrated, I hope this was a help to you. Happy keyboarding. I hope that you get relief from your pain and have a whole lot of fun. Keyboards are pretty cool. See ya.